That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
Behind the glitter and mouse ears, something very messy is happening at Disney.
There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic.
According to multiple insider whispers, the studio just held a confidential, off-the-record, absolutely no phones allowed meeting. And the reason? Snow White is officially in crisis mode.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler.
This wasn't your typical check-in or how's the box office doing kind of meeting. This was damage control, a full-blown closed-door scramble where execs reportedly sat down to answer one urgent question. How do we stop this movie from becoming a full-blown brand disaster? Because right now, Disney isn't just dealing with low projections or critical shade, they're staring down a marketing nightmare, a fractured fan base, and a lead actress who's turned one of their most sacred characters into the punchline of every social media feed.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Let's not sugarcoat it. The Rachel Zegler situation has completely hijacked the narrative around this film. She was supposed to be the face of a new era, Disney's first Gen Z princess, politically outspoken, fearless, empowered. And at first it worked. People were curious, headlines were buzzing, but then the interviews dropped. She criticized the prince, she called the original weird. She said she wouldn't be dreaming about true love because this Snow White was a leader. And depending on where you stood, those comments were either refreshing or completely tone deaf.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen because there's another one in town.
The backlash was immediate, and it didn't go away. Instead of rallying fans, Rachel became a symbol of what people felt Disney had done wrong, disrespecting the original, pushing a message without heart, and choosing a lead who seemed more annoyed by the story than honored to tell it. And when the actress at the center of your $300 million film becomes the lightning rod for all the hate, that's when meetings start happening fast.
Controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars. Oh, have we been following the Snow White?
Actually, the first I'm hearing of this.
Here's where it gets wild. According to one leak, a key player from Disney's marketing team allegedly described the situation as brand threatening. Another source claimed one executive literally opened the meeting with, "We can't PR our way out of this anymore." Here's what allegedly got discussed. Canceling all remaining international press for Rachel Zegler pushing Gal Gadot to the front of the campaign as a safer, more audience-approved focus. Quietly reducing promotional partnerships with brands that were tied to Snow White merch, and even re-editing trailers and clips to remove or trim down Rachel's lines. Some insiders say the goal isn't even to save the film anymore, it's to protect the Disney name from long-term damage. And when you've got that kind of money on the line, with investors breathing down your neck, image becomes everything.
You think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarves want to work.
This isn't just about one actress or even one film, it's about legacy. Snow White isn't a spin-off, it's not some straight-to-streaming reboot. It's the first, the original, the movie that built the castle. And now, it's being treated like a mistake no one wants to claim. Promotions are drying up. Merch is already being pulled from shelves. Theme park tie-ins, suddenly quiet. And online, fans are dragging the studio for losing touch with their own magic. This is the exact opposite of what Disney planned. Snow White was supposed to be the safe one, the golden ticket, the "we can't possibly mess this up" remake. But now it's looking like the start of a serious internal reckoning, one that could shake how Disney handles all their future live-action projects.
And our choice is like an honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, it's 7 of them.
So after the initial press drama, you'd think Rachel Zegler might have hit pause, regrouped, maybe dropped a soft "let's move forward" post and let things cool off. But no, she did the opposite. Instead of calming things down, Rachel went full defensive, appearing in multiple interviews, from Vogue Mexico to Variety, doubling down on her now infamous takes. She insisted the backlash was actually passion from fans. She said people were simply deeply attached to the original, and that their criticism meant they cared. And while that might sound like damage control in theory, the way she said it came off as dismissive, like she wasn't listening, just spinning. One poll quote that made it to every gossip page: "I'm proud of what we've done. People are uncomfortable with change, and that's okay. Girl, that was not the read."
Well, because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, and this is right but this is demeaning, and they were like, "What? We just want to work. We're dwarves." So, ho, ho, ho.
By mid-February, the Snow White press tour was officially spiraling. According to industry insiders, Rachel's media appearances were becoming a liability, not an asset. Publicists allegedly started tightening interview access, only approving outlets that would stick to safe questions. Her team reportedly began screening journalists in advance, afraid of another viral moment that could tank things even further. One report said Disney's media reps were quietly telling journalists, "Please stick to the film, no commentary questions." Which, let's be honest, is code for do not let her ad-lib, but by then, it was too late. The internet had already made Rachel the main event, not the movie. She wasn't seen as promoting the film, she was overshadowing it.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
This is where the tea really starts boiling. There are now unconfirmed but persistent rumors that the relationship between Rachel and Disney is, quote, extremely strained. One source told a gossip outlet that Disney was furious over the lack of message control, especially since they'd reportedly given Rachel strict PR talking points before the tour began. Another leak suggested that after a particularly controversial interview, Rachel was called into a private conversation with senior studio execs and asked to step back from press entirely. She reportedly refused. Now, was that a dramatic exaggeration? Maybe, but it's not hard to believe when you look at the evidence. Interviews canceled, event appearances slashed, and Disney literally shifting the promo spotlight to Gal Gadot, who, at this point, is being treated like a damage-free buffer.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah, weird.
And let's talk about the internet, because bestie, they're not letting this one go. There are now compilations on YouTube titled Rachel Zegler, The Fall of a Disney Princess. TikTok is flooded with side-by-side clips comparing her press tour to Emma Watson's or Lily James's, and the tone is brutal. Reddit threads are still active daily, dissecting her interviews line by line. One fan wrote, "She's not playing Snow White, she's playing Rachel Zegler dressed as Snow White who doesn't want to be there." And the merch? Oh, babe. Even Etsy shops are pulling fan items because demand is non-existent. For a Disney princess, that is unheard of.
She continued celebrating herself by posting that she's in the #1 movie in the world, which is a remarkable thing to post when you are the laughingstock of an entire industry. This is what narcissism looks like. Narcissism for 200.
The scariest part of all of this? Rachel might have damaged more than just one film. There are now whispers in casting circles that she's being quietly removed from shortlists for upcoming big-budget roles. Not because of talent, nobody questions her performance ability, but because studios are terrified of the PR baggage. Hollywood thrives on optics. And right now, Rachel Zegler isn't giving America's princess. She's giving social media risk. One insider allegedly told a tabloid she was supposed to be the next Anne Hathaway. Now she's radioactive. And it's not just gossip. Even fans who supported her are now saying she needs a major PR reset before stepping into another iconic role.
Theaters are, of course, entirely empty. Do you understand that having people buy tickets is an important part of success in your industry?
So what is Disney doing? Quietly, strategically, and very, very carefully, they're pulling back. Sources say Rachel's face is being removed from upcoming Disney+. Thumbnails, social content has shifted to focus on side characters and villains' future. Projects with overlapping talent have gone completely silent. Internally, this is being treated as a failed experiment. One exec reportedly said, "We tried something bold. It backfired. Time to move on." And if that's where the energy is heading, you can bet this isn't the last internal leak we're going to hear about.
And is actually so bad that Rachel Zegler decided to post a video of herself in a theater. Maybe I think she bought that ticket right there.
So here's what the leaks are saying. That emergency meeting we talked about in Phase 1, that was just the beginning. Now, Disney is allegedly in Phase 2 of their internal recovery plan, and it's not about saving Rachel Zegler. It's about salvaging what's left of the Disney name and distancing themselves from a project they once pushed as their crown jewel. How? They're shifting the entire conversation. You've probably noticed this already. Snow White promotional content on official social pages has slowed to a trickle. Disney Plus banners for the film are showing up less frequently. Brand partners who were lined up for cross-promotions, quietly walking away, and press outlets suddenly granted exclusive access, as long as they focus only on the visuals, not the controversy. Insiders say the studio's marketing department is now working on a campaign document with one simple goal: reframe the narrative without acknowledging the scandal. And honestly, that's classic Disney damage control.
Decided to film herself in a theater totally empty, giggling, tee-hee-heeing with total glee.
Here's the move that really says it all. Disney is recentering the entire promo strategy around Gal Gadot. Originally cast as the evil queen, Gal was supposed to be the stylish, villainous sidekick to Rachel's main character. But now, she's being framed as the emotional core of the story. New teaser spots feature less Rachel, more Gal. Trailers are being recut to focus on the Queen's rise to power. Even recent articles approved by Disney's PR team push Gal as the mature force and anchor of the film. Translation: Gal didn't say anything messy. Gal showed up, read the script, smiled for the cameras, and stayed out of the storm. And Disney, they noticed. Some fans are even joking online that this isn't Snow White anymore. It's the evil queen origins. And honestly, they're not wrong.
Look at this. Look at this face. What can be said about this level of narcissism here?
Okay, you're gonna love this one. A leak from a trusted industry blog, confirmed in Variety Girl, claims that Disney literally hired a private social media fixer for Rachel Zegler, a PR consultant whose job was to scrub her online presence, coach her on future posts, and prevent another viral quote explosion. Yes, it's that serious. This guru reportedly worked directly with her team to review old tweets, monitor trends, and, wait for it, draft captions in advance before they went live. And still, even with that level of micromanaging, the damage had already been done. By the time Rachel hit Fashion Week in New York, the vibe was no longer Disney darling. It was Hollywood liability with a very expensive cleanup crew. Now here's where it goes from embarrassing to dangerous. Behind the scenes, multiple outlets are reporting that Disney's investors have taken notice. And let's be clear, once the money starts panicking, the studio really starts scrambling. Stockholders are reportedly furious that a tentpole project this expensive was allowed to spiral into controversy months before its release, with no plan in place to course correct. One article said that executives had to field questions about Rachel Zegler's interviews on earnings calls, which, for a family-friendly media empire, is a complete nightmare. There's also word that the Snow White numbers were significantly below internal projections. Not just in theaters, but also in merch and streaming pre-orders. One line from an internal report allegedly said, "Public sentiment remains at historic lows for a live-action Disney release." That's not just a flop, that's a brand crisis.
The bliss of total stupidity and narcissism. Look at the bliss. On some level, it's got to be a blessing to just be so smooth-brained.
So now the question is, how far will Disney go to erase this mess? Because if history is any clue, they've done this before. When something flops this hard or gets this messy, they don't always pull it. They just let it quietly disappear. Think of it like a silent funeral with no obituary. Here's what's already happening. Theme park appearances for Snow White have been limited or cut entirely. International releases are under review in smaller markets, and any talk of follow-ups, spin-offs, or franchise expansions? Dead silent. Some fans believe the next step is for Disney to pull the plug on a physical media release, something they've done with other underperformers in the past. Others say Snow White might get Disney vaulted, quietly pulled from View, no announcement, no press, no goodbye. The message is clear. This film is no longer a moment. It's a mistake.
Even though woke in some sense feels like it's dead, it still has to run its course through the system. The ghosts have to get out of the machine in essence.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Rachel Zegler's reputation is hanging by a thread. What started as a bold, outspoken Gen Z princess moment has spiraled into a full-blown identity crisis. Once hailed as the future of Disney, Rachel has now become the face of one of the biggest brand embarrassments in the company's modern history. And Hollywood? It's watching. Studios are reportedly hesitant to attach her to high-budget projects. Streaming platforms that once courted her for original content are now reevaluating alignment, according to industry whispers. And worst of all, public opinion hasn't softened, it's hardened. At this point, every post she makes gets dissected, every quote gets clipped and turned into a TikTok sound, and every casting rumor she's attached to becomes a public debate before it's even confirmed. Even if it's not entirely her fault, the damage has been done. And girl, in this business, perception is power.
And I'm sure he's like an honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, it's 7 of them.
Let's zoom out, because the fall of Snow White isn't just about one actress or even one film, it might be the death blow to an entire genre. For over a decade, Disney's live-action remakes have dominated theaters. Cinderella, Beauty, and The Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King. They were safe bets, nostalgia-packed money machines. But audiences have changed. People are tired. They don't want watered-down reboots with PR-slicked scripts. They want heart, originality, purpose. And what Snow White exposed, in the loudest, messiest way possible, is that remakes without magic don't work anymore. Some Disney insiders are already whispering that the slate of future reimaginings, like Tangled, Pocahontas, The Princess and the Frog, may now be on very thin ice. Because when the original princess crashes this hard, it sends a message. Maybe it's time to stop rewriting fairy tales and start telling new ones.
Controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars. Oh, have we been following the Snow White?
Actually, the first I'm hearing of this.
Disney's legacy is huge. They've survived scandals, flops, and creative missteps before. But this one, it cut deeper. Because Snow White wasn't just a movie, it was a symbol of where the brand came from, of how far they've evolved. And when that symbol gets dragged on every platform, booed by critics, and ignored by audiences, it shakes the foundation. This isn't a clean wound. It's messy, it's public, it's viral. The execs are shaken, the fans are divided. And internally, every team, from animation to marketing to talent relations, is being told to rethink everything. Carefully, quietly, immediately. Because if the next project bombs even half this hard, the era of untouchable Disney domination might be over.
Dana Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler.
That's the million-dollar question, right? Does Rachel Zegler disappear for a while and come back with a redemption arc? Maybe. Does Disney pull the plug on more live-action projects and refocus on original content? Probably. Will they ever speak publicly about this meltdown? Absolutely not. This will get buried hard. PR firms will spin, reels will get deleted, Gal Gadot might land a surprise spin-off, and in a year or two, we'll probably see some new Disney darling in a tiara with a fresh, modern take, and hope we forgot all this ever happened. But we won't, because Snow White 2025 won't go down as a magical reboot. It'll be remembered as a warning. You can't rewrite a fairy tale if you don't respect the story.
You think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarves want to work.
All right, babe, spill it. Was Rachel Zegler totally to blame for this disaster? Did Disney set her up to fail? Or was this reboot doomed from the second they hit go on a script no one really wanted? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Know you've got opinions. And if you live for this kind of chaos, the scandals, the shade, the inside Hollywood meltdowns, then you already know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring that bell so you never miss the next mess that breaks the internet. Because if there's one thing this fairy tale taught us, the real villain isn't the evil queen, it's a studio in denial.